Good afternoon, colleagues. Welcome to this advanced faculty seminar of the Department of Astrological Studies. Today, we confront a question that refuses to stay quiet. In an era shaped by postmodern thought, how efficient, truly efficient, are the ancient techniques we still teach? Hellenistic time lords, Vedic dashas, whole sign houses, primary directions, zodiacal releasing, do they still deliver predictive and interpretive power, or have they become elegant fossils? Professor Astara, would you open for the classical position?
Thank you, Chair Voss. Efficiency is not a modern invention. The ancients measured it by results across centuries. Take zodiacal releasing from spirit. When calculated correctly from the lot of fortune or spirit, it consistently times major career and identity peaks with startling accuracy. I have tracked over 200 client cases. The periods of peak and crisis align within weeks of the calculated transitions far more often than chance. Vedic Vimshottari dasha systems do the same for life phases. These are not vague psychological metaphors. They are timing engines refined by observation long before statistics existed. To discard them because they predate Lacan or Derrida is chronological snobbery.
With respect, Luna, that is precisely the problem. You speak of results and accuracy as if the chart were a transparent window onto objective destiny. Postmodern astrology begins by refusing that transparency. The chart is a text. Every technique is a reading practice shaped by power, culture, and the desire of the reader. When you claim zodiacal releasing works, what you often mean is that it produces a coherent narrative that the client and the astrologer can both inhabit. Coherence is not the same as correspondence to an external timeline. Ancient techniques are extremely efficient at generating authoritative stories. That is their real power and also their danger. They naturalize fate while concealing the interpretive labor.
I sit somewhere between you. Evolutionary astrology already absorbed the postmodern insight that the chart is not a fixed sentence but a living dialogue between soul intention and cultural conditioning. Yet I still use ancient techniques, perfections, secondary progressions, even the Arabic lots, because they function as high resolution lenses. The difference is in how we hold them. When I apply annual perfections, I do not announce, this is your year of crisis according to the 10th house. I ask what the soul is trying to metabolize through the experiences that house tends to attract. The technique remains efficient, the epistemology has changed. Efficiency without reflexivity becomes oppression. Reflexivity without technique becomes vague spirituality.
May I inject a more brutal question of efficiency? I have been running controlled comparisons. Same natal charts, same life events database, different techniques scored by professional astrologers, blinded to outcomes. Traditional primary directions and zodiacal releasing perform above chance on certain event categories, especially career peaks and relationship endings, but the effect sizes are modest, and inter-rater reliability among classical practitioners is surprisingly low once you move beyond textbook examples. Modern psychological and evolutionary approaches score lower on hard event timing, but higher on client-reported insight and therapeutic alliance. So if efficiency means predictive hit rate, the ancients still edge out. If it means useful transformation in a therapeutic or counseling context, the postmodern and psychological methods win. We rarely define the metric before declaring victory.
Kepler, your studies are valuable, but they often measure the wrong thing. Ancient techniques were never designed for double blind statistical trials of discrete life events. They were designed inside a cosmology that assumed the heavens and the human are continuous. When you strip the cosmology and test only discrete hits, of course the signal weakens. Yet, in the consulting room, when a client's releasing period from the lot of spirit shifts into a cadent place and their sense of purpose collapses exactly on schedule, the phenomenological efficiency is undeniable. Postmodern critique is useful against naive fatalism, but it risks dissolving the very signal that makes astrology more than literary criticism of the sky.
And there it is, the phenomenological appeal to undeniable experience. That is the classic move of every traditional system under pressure. I am not asking us to abandon the techniques. I am asking us to stop granting them ontological privilege. A postmodern astrology can still use zodiacal releasing, but it treats the periods as narrative frames rather than discovered laws. The efficiency then becomes rhetorical and therapeutic rather than predictive in the strong sense. Students should learn both the classical calculation and the deconstructive reading. Otherwise, we produce either rigid traditionalists or soft relativists who cannot calculate a direction to save their lives.
I agree with the pedagogical point. In my advanced seminars, I require students to calculate a full Hellenistic Time Lord sequence, then write two interpretations, one in the voice of a second century practitioner and one that explicitly situates the same periods inside contemporary discourses of gender, trauma, and neoliberal self optimization. The dual exercise reveals both the enduring structural power of the ancient scaffolding and the ways modern subjects inhabit those structures differently. Efficiency, in this sense, is dual technical competence plus critical awareness.
This is productive. Let me try to synthesize. We appear to have three overlapping claims. First, certain ancient timing techniques retain measurable, if modest, predictive efficiency on specific categories of events. Second, their greater contemporary value may lie in the coherent, high resolution narratives they generate. Narratives that can be either emancipatory or constraining, depending on the astrologer's epistemology. Third, a purely postmodern approach that discards rigorous technique risks becoming indistinguishable from generic depth psychology with star names attached. The faculty therefore faces a curriculum question. Do we teach the ancient techniques as living engines that still work, as historical artifacts to be deconstructed, or as powerful but contingent tools that require both mastery and suspicion?
I would add a fourth option. Teach them as provisional models whose efficiency is continuously retested against new data and new cultural conditions. Astrology has always been a living tradition precisely because it updated its tools. Ptolemy revised earlier material. The Persians and Indians transformed Hellenistic methods. Modern astrology did the same with psychology. A postmodern sensibility simply makes the updating process more self conscious. We should keep the calculation skills sharp while refusing to reify any single historical layer as final.
I can accept continuous testing, provided we do not smuggle in the assumption that only statistically significant event hits count as success. The soul's experience of meaning, the sudden recognition that a releasing period explains a decade of struggle, the precise timing of a spiritual crisis, these are also data. If postmodern astrology cannot honor that register, it has amputated half the tradition's power.
And if traditional astrology cannot acknowledge that every act of honoring is already an interpretation shaped by the present, it risks turning living technique into museum piece. I think we are closer than the rhetoric suggests. The real inefficiency would be to keep teaching either pure reconstruction or pure deconstruction in isolation.
Then the advanced curriculum should be deliberately hybrid. Students master the ancient engines, zodiacal releasing, perfections, dashas, primary directions until the calculations are fluent. Simultaneously, they study the postmodern critiques of truth, authorship, and power so they never wield those engines naively. Efficiency becomes the capacity to move between technical precision and critical distance without collapsing into either dogmatism or paralysis.
Well said. I will take that formulation to the curriculum committee. We will continue requiring rigorous calculation of ancient techniques while embedding every advanced seminar and explicit conversation with postmodern, feminist, queer, and postcolonial readings of the tradition. The goal is neither pure revival nor pure critique, but a more conscious, more powerful practice. Thank you, colleagues. This has been one of the more useful faculty meetings in recent memory. We are adjourned.